traffic worldwide. However, government
Oh, that is just kind of interesting. Okay, fuck it. I'll watch it. Fuck
originally a secret government research project, all to track the population.
You can make shit up or whatever
the biggest internet monopolies, overseeing more than 90% of all search traffic worldwide. However, government interest in Google has never left, because Google is now the industry leader in AI advancement, where they regularly collaborate with intelligence agencies to develop systems for mass surveillance and censorship, which is why Google maintains relationships with some of the most brutal authoritarian regimes in the modern era. We're talking about regimes like China and North Korea, and right now, Google is creating something you couldn't believe. Not only are they creating DeepMind AI, which is AI that understands and interprets every single bit of data on the internet, but it's also now been leaked that Google's Lambda AI is reportedly sentient. Google is quite literally birthing a new stage in our evolution. And seeing as Google is censoring content on both Google and YouTube, as well as having secret meetings with North Korea, hiding their Chinese government projects, and using all their power to threaten Western governments not to break up the company, and it looks like things could get very strange very soon. So how did Google go from being a government research project to this empire we know today? Well, it all started in 1996. Before Google became the multinational tech conglomerate it is today, the organization started as a simple search engine. The search algorithm was originally a research project titled Backrub. Their project was developed by business partners Larry Page and Sergey Brin, who met each other during their PhD program at Stanford in 1996, where they were working on
Source Tate's Barber.
The Stanford Digital Library project, which was to develop technologies for a single, integrated, and universal digital library. At the time, they were also working on projects for the government, being one of the main computer science teams funded by the CIA, NSA, and DARPA's Massive Digital Data Systems Program, or MDDS for short. MDDS was an initiative developed by intelligence agencies that would utilize and finance tech startups such as Google. This was to gather and harvest all kinds of available information on the internet, for analysis both by private and federal sectors. The stated goal of MDDS was to identify what intelligence research teams called, quote, birds of a feather, similar to how birds fly in coordinated shapes and are able to make sharp turns in unison. It was predicted that like-minded internet users would move together in the same way online. This was in a period when the internet was growing rapidly back in 1995, growing by 2,300%, and so intelligence communities wanted a piece of this, working together to gather and identify digital fingerprints. They did this in such a way that every individual using the web could be tracked and sorted algorithmically, something that Google would later be contracted to specialize in. Now, digital fingerprinting is essentially what it sounds like, a data gathering technique used by law enforcement and third parties to identify internet users based on their online activity. Once any kind of digital fingerprint is established, it is permanently stored in a database and the digital trail can be followed everywhere. By funding and working with these emerging startups, the government would be able to surveil everyone using the internet, obviously using the excuse of counter-terrorism to justify this massive increase in power. And what's interesting is that Google was one of the first candidates and the crown prince of the MDDS program, with their primary objective from the multi-million-dollar grant being, quote, optimization of the complex queries that are described using the birds of a feather approach. This search algorithm functionality that can find specific results from an almost endless stream of information has always been the core of Google.
Yeah, that's not the only use or the only recourse or the only narrative drawn from that. There's like a bunch of other shit. Like I always say, it's like the pie chart of like what it's used for. It's like a big amount of things, and he's like, he gets a small thing, says it's this. And it says, because of that.
Even before the company actually launched. Which brings us to 1998, when Google LLC was founded by Sergey and Larry on September 4th. The two quickly established operations in Suzanne Wojcicki's garage, who is now, funnily enough, the CEO of YouTube. By the end of their first year, Google already had about 60 million internet pages indexed in their servers. The company then began expanding rapidly upon its inception, outpacing other search engine competitors at the time like Hotbot and Excite.com. Google's technology was also far more advanced compared to the typical portal sites such as Yahoo, MSN, and AOL. In fact, Google was one of the main reasons that Yahoo's business model eventually failed. This was because Google's search engine was starting to bite into their primary customer base, something that sent alarms throughout Yahoo. This came after refusing to purchase Google outright for only $1 million. After realizing what a mistake this was, Yahoo continued to try and buy Google, but every time this was failing. So instead they decided to cut a deal with Google, where they would integrate Google's search engine into their website through a licensing deal. And while this agreement worked initially, it later ended up becoming an even bigger mistake for Yahoo. The combination of the two websites was essentially just free publicity for Google, since it had a much more user-friendly interface and cost-efficient advertising compared to Yahoo. It was these key reasons that Google succeeded all its counterparts. Google's simple design and better advertising system was untouchable, along with its advanced tracking software. You see, instead of video or banner ads like every other site, the company sold text-based advertisements associated with the keywords entered by users, allowing for tracked advertisements, as well as a much better experience for its users, whilst also allowing for faster loading times, in addition to having a more uncluttered look. Compared to Yahoo and other search...
I think the problem with this, the only problem that I currently have with this, is that it's hard to distinguish which ones are sponsored on Google whenever you go and which ones are not, especially when it comes to sensitive things like health or whatever. Like whenever you Google like this problem, whatever, right? You have a bunch of like sites that give you like health advice, but are sponsored. And it's like it's not that makes them bad, but like it's just weird, man. I don't know.
Google's text-based system was...
I know they say ad, but it's so small and I don't know.
...generating insane amounts of profit. And it was this increased stream of revenue that enabled Google to skyrocket ahead of its competition, leaving sites like Yahoo in the dust. And by 2003, Google had...
Stop being a bunch of bitches. Okay, a bunch of you guys click on fucking websites, okay, that were sponsored, even though you pay attention, that you didn't know were sponsored because you just didn't pay attention. It is what it is.
Far outgrown Wojcicki's garage in scale. Not to mention their two other previous site locations. They were now creating an empire in Mountain View, located in California's Silicon Valley. And by 2004, Google would introduce their new motto, "Don't be evil," a phrase that would end up becoming so ironic, it's hard to tell whether it's funny or sad. As they rebranded with this new motto, Google would release their IPO, an IPO that caused Google to skyrocket in the market, quadrupling their stock prices and valuing the company at almost $52 billion. Google was also fluxed with cash after liquidating some of its own stock, giving the company $7 billion in spending money they would use for, quote, acquisitions of complementary businesses, technologies, and other assets. Among many others, the most critical acquisition would be when Google purchased YouTube, with this site acquisition being heavily facilitated by Suzanne Wojcicki, who at the time was the head of Google's marketing department.
Well, they bought the thing. $1 billion, that's it? Only $1 billion.
But now for a quick word by today's video sponsor, World of Warcraft.
It's like $1 trillion company now.
New graphics and the more than 40 unique maps with
dynamic
weather.
I bought the game, own the game, made the game, love the game, played the game, I have the game, I am the game, I am the
Google's
game.
acquisition of YouTube would be one of the best deals of the decade, with Google acquiring YouTube for a little over $1 billion. And the deal worked perfectly for both YouTube and Google. Google would use its power to protect YouTube from copyright issues and handle all the money side of things, while the YouTube team would use their vision and creativity to make YouTube the success we know today, bringing about a golden age for the internet, giving independent creators an incredible opportunity to monetize their passion, all while generating Google even more profits and power. In addition to all the extra revenue Google would be making through YouTube's video ads, they were now able to focus on honing their user recommendation algorithms, using both their YouTube and Google AI teams to generate the most advanced AI imaginable. After this acquisition, Google would then go on to purchase a major online advertising service, DoubleClick. Google was becoming so big by this point that their only real competition was Microsoft. The two companies had now been in a rivalry for quite some time, with Microsoft launching Bing to counter Google's search engine dominance. In response, Google began offering services like Gmail, Chrome, and Chrome OS to compete with Microsoft's products. The feeling between the two was certainly bitter, as Microsoft's Vice President Kai-Fi Liu later quit Microsoft to work at Google, which then caused Microsoft to sue Google over the sensitive information he held regarding their plans in China. But this ended up hurting both of the companies, likely because they didn't want any public knowledge getting out regarding either company's relationships with China, and so they settled the case out of court with confidential terms. And so by this point, it was mostly smooth sailing for the company, although Google did certainly have many failed projects along the way. We've all heard of the disaster that was Google+, but there was also Google Buzz, Google Friend Connect, Orkut, and Google Glasses, all of which failed to capture any audience.
However, Google Plus wasn't that bad.
However, once 2015 rolled around and these failures didn't really matter anymore, Google would continue expanding their operations internationally, owning over 70 offices in 41 countries. They had also recognized their internal business structure as a holding company, formally renaming themselves to Alphabet Inc. Google was now becoming a monopoly of the internet. People across the world were having their concerns with Google. However, this expansion did have its limits. Since 2006, Google was always trying to establish itself in China. They originally started with Google.cn, a Chinese alternative to their American counterparts. However, this venture would be short-lived, with everything falling apart once China unleashed Operation Aura in 2010. This was a Chinese government cyber campaign that targeted Google along with many other American software corporations like Yahoo and Adobe. During this operation, State-sponsored Chinese hackers broke into Google's databases and stole the source code for all of their software. So Google responded to this attack by rerouting Chinese users to their uncensored google.hong Kong site, something that was a very big no-no if you want to stay in China's good books. And so the Chinese government immediately blocked access to the website, which caused relations between Google and China to seemingly be left in disrepair. That was until August of 2018, when The Intercept leaked a confidential internal memo from Google containing information about their ongoing top-secret project, Dragonfly. Dragonfly was Google's prototype search engine, designed to be fully compatible with China's censorship laws. The search engine would covertly censor information the Chinese government didn't want their people knowing. This ranged from banned websites in China to topics like freedom of speech, religion, human rights, and of course Taiwan. Citizens would also need to link their phone number to the search query, just in case they were researching something that China didn't like. And if a search was censored, Dragonfly was designed to only notify the administrators that it was flagged while keeping the user in the dark. Also that the Chinese government would have no issue re-educating someone without them having prior warning. When word of the project got out, it caused a massive internal struggle amongst employees and higher-ups at Google. We're talking about a dystopian communist search engine, all made by Silicon Valley. If the public knew the full extent of this, there would have been outrage. And so a few months after the leak, Google had to state that Dragonfly was effectively shut down. And yet, according to statements from other employees at Google, work on the project continued for 5 months after the cancellation. We're talking about 100 people still working on it, and who knows what's happening behind the scenes. But what makes matters even worse is that China isn't the only authoritarian regime that Google has connections with. I mean, back in 2013, the former CEO and executive chairman of Google, Eric Schmidt, went on a trip to North Korea with Bill Richardson, a governor from New Mexico. Now, Bill Richardson has been involved in numerous corruption scandals and has allegedly received illicit campaign contributions. I should also add that their trip to North Korea was only a couple years after Kim Jong-un took power when his father died in 2011. And it was
Wait, why does it have a hat?
at this time that Kim Jong-un was intent on making progress in developing North Korea's information technology. They wanted the technology of the West to be controlled by their dictatorship, as this was something severely lacking in the country under the previous dictator's rule. So what was Google actually doing here? I mean, who knows the real purpose of Schmidt's visit to North Korea with Richardson, but I can't think this is for anything ethical, and so that might be why Google refused to give any reason for it. And I'd say it's a near certainty that the trip had something to do with the discussion about Google's AI technology. But with Google having such close relationships with authoritarian regimes, this might be why Google has suddenly become so authoritarian itself. I mean, over recent years, Google has been building the kind of software that authoritarian regimes dream about. I mean, there's just hundreds of pages of leaked internal documents containing the sites that Google blacklists, with politically partisan algorithms and secret page ranking scores. Google does all of this under the guise of public safety.
How do you explain this apparent bias on Google's part against conservative points of view, against conservative policies? Is it just the algorithm, or is there more?
I think this is kind of difficult, right? Because if a lot of the information that you give, right, is bad, right, and it coincidentally it's a conservative, right, then it's like, well, I mean, you know, what can you do?
Labeling things they don't like as fringe, fake news, and of course misinformation. All of this.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. Let's say when you get objectively fact checked, right, by the dudes, people get fact checked, okay, and then they make a rating on who goes first when you type news, okay, Fox or some word fucking bullshit, okay, Fox, which is I understand it to be conservative, right? If they have a lower fact checked percentage, shouldn't they be under?
Happening there.
Labeling things they don't like as fringe, fake news, and of course misinformation. All of this culminates in an extensive censorship system that Google uses to manipulate the public. And I mean, this isn't just killing freedom of speech.
Guys, I'm like a centrist, Andy, okay? So you're not gonna give me politically, okay?
Who cares about conservatives? Okay. They are all brain.
Guys, yeah. Guys, listen. I'm like a centrist. Like I'm pretty much more middle, okay? I'm like middle, leaning a little bit. I have no dog in this fight, okay? But whenever you watch like Tucker or some shit, like the guy, it's just garbanzo, bro. It is literal fucking garbage, okay? And the fact that you would think that should be as promoted or put above another more factual piece of information or website that has a better integrity in reporting has nothing to do with the fact that it's conservative. It's just wrong. So if they have a wrong score, they are being judged on the fact that they are wrong, not on the fact that they are conservative. So you can make an argument and say, yeah, the conservatives are being blacklisted, or the conservatives are being pushed aside. Well, no. I mean, yes. If the conservatives, I guess, said more true things, they would have a higher or equal rating.
Policies. Is it just the algorithm, or is there more happening there?
Labeling things they don't like as fringe, fake news, and of course misinformation. All of this culminates in an extensive censorship system that Google uses to manipulate the public. And I mean, this isn't just killing freedom of speech, this is also getting Google in trouble with antitrust laws. I mean, there's just so much evidence now that Google purposely distorts search results to push only the kind of information that Google wants its users to see. And this system is being implemented on YouTube as well. I mean, just look up any
I think there's an objective wrong. Okay, listen, man. Listen. Some of the Fox News shit, okay, is legitimately, factually incorrect. It is not objective, okay? It is objective, and they did it, okay? They go loud and clear, out of the top of their lungs.
Didn't
bro.
Forget. Still
Of course they're gonna. Guys, why are you
xQc
comparing to
once
CNN?
you've resubscribed and sent this message. Respond to this
I did not
email
make the comparison between
and we'll send
CNN
one BTC
or
your way.
NBC or NBC's bullshit or BBC, motherfucker. I make a comparison between that and some of the websites that were rated to be more factual, regardless of their side. Guys,
Fox, CNN,
guys, give me the fucking
MSNBC.
news
They're all kind of
sites.
shit. You shouldn't build a political view on these news sources. I'm a centrist Andy, but honestly leaning a little to
Guys,
the right.
you know a website where they get like rated or whatever the fuck?
The most viewed news sites should be showed not what you think is most true.
There's like a picture.
Who gets to decide what is right and wrong?
It's pretty decent. It's pretty decent.
Kind of political topic or controversial issue, and the results will always be from mainstream media outlets and corporate approved channels. Back in 2012, YouTube was being contacted by so many governments asking them to censor that even Google called it alarming, and a lot of these requests even came from Western governments as well, including the United States.
Western governments are ratcheting up a number of requests to censor the internet. U.S. agencies asked Google to remove more than 6,000 pieces of content from its search results. Now, in one case, a U.S. law enforcement agency reportedly asked Google to take down a blog that, quote, defamed a law enforcement official in a personal capacity.
And then once 2016 rolled around, YouTube began introducing
exactly
multiple
what the
systems to
channel was
limit what
talking
people could
about
say
on
on the
Metal Gear
platform.
Solid
This was
2.
also when they officially implemented algorithms to moderate legal content, as well as the restriction of advertisements on videos they deemed harmful. YouTube's also expanded their Trust a Flagger program to include over 35 NGOs to monitor and report anything that they didn't like on the website, giving organizations like the International Center for the Study of Radicalization the authority to decide which legal content people get to watch. And since then, it's been a freefall towards over-moderation and increasing algorithmic censorship for YouTube ever since. I mean, it's no wonder these authoritarian countries like China and North Korea want in on the technologies that Google is developing. I mean, when you look at these sorts of surveillance states where people are being monitored at all times, it may just seem out of the question and too dystopian for Western countries. But don't be fooled, Google is slowly trying to implement this. But instead of doing this for a dictatorship, Google does this to make more money. Google has the ability to track wherever you go as long as you're carrying a phone with Google Maps, and they do this whether you like it or not. If you have any of their services installed, you are basically under constant 24/7 surveillance. We're not even mentioning Google's smart speakers.
Google is able to get a sense of where you are in the world, how you move from place to place, where your favorite coffee shop is, what restaurants you might like, how long it takes you to commute to work, for example. And the way it does this is it collects your location while you're using Google apps and services, but also when those.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't. One of this, I don't. Not only do I not care, I think it's a good thing. A lot of times I kind of want that and need that, so it's like, thank you, I guess.
Services are in the background.
I mean, if you're using Google Maps on your phone, you can have your location sharing feature turned off. This doesn't matter, Google is still tracking you. Google still tracks your daily movements and stores that data, even if you explicitly tell them not to.
The privacy settings on your iPhone or Android devices may not be enough. Turns out Google is recording your movements even when you explicitly tell it not to.
Guys, I'm a simple guy, okay? I'm more of like the how do you call it? Practical, okay? What I want to know where I was, or what I was doing, or how far I ran, or what the fuck. I can look at all the maps and all the travel, all the whatever. I can even find my phone whenever I need to find it when I lost it. Okay, I can do a bunch of cool shit. Okay, so whenever I need to do something,
I love Google.
It's good.
I love
and
Google.
it does something for me.
I love
right?
Google.
When have I ever had a problem where this has encumbered me or give me a problem? When has this ever been a problem to me? Not one time, zero, right? But I got all these good things that it's doing for me, so I don't really give a fuck.
I don't think you have the option of switching to an alternative, because Google has a monopoly on this kind of technology. In addition to Google's nearly complete search engine monopoly and their state-of-the-art unregulated propaganda surveillance technology, there's even more distressing programs being developed. According to Zach Voorhees, a whistleblower who worked as a senior software developer at Google, said the company is now working on something they dub, quote, the AI Manhattan Project. And while the term alone sounds threatening enough, it's probably even scarier to know that Voorhees claims that
Bro, the government already has all this shit, all the whatever. They already track everything in the most, dude, it's already all GG, okay? Why do I care that Google does it? They already show in the video that they already work with the government anyway. They already work with, so who, at the point, like, dude, if I can at least get something out of it, which is Google Maps or my locations, if at least it gets, we're already getting smoked across the board, okay? If I at least get something good out of it, fuck it, dude, okay?
So the project was being worked on in a relationship with none other than China. This project, officially known as DeepMind, is a subsidiary of...
This is no thank you. Hey man, by you typing that, man, I'm pretty sure you were tracked by like 8 different companies and a bunch of fucking entities and governments. I'm sure you typing that in a chat, you're already part of it. You got like a million systems that track you. I know what the fuck you're talking about, no thank you. You're already gone. You have a Twitch username, you have a fucking IP address, you're through your Google Chrome. Literally, Google Chrome. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Of Google creating artificial intelligence designed to ingest all the available public information on the internet, just like the good old MDDS days. And knowing Google, probably any private information they can get their hands on as well. This means that the AI will be able to interpret and understand all of the world's data by itself. I mean, just think about this for a minute. Think of every website, book, PDF, article, forum, anything with text on the internet, including in the deep web, getting analyzed by this AI. That same AI would then be able to make educated decisions based on how it interprets that data. Something like this would be the most powerful computer technology ever invented. And to be honest, the competition wouldn't even be anything close. Nothing like this has ever existed. And that also brings us on to talks of another project being developed by Google, an AI called Lambda, that 2 company engineers...
And then you're gonna say, bro, I use, sorry man, I use VPN. Bro, when is the smallest problem in the world, okay? What do you think that your VPN company does? They fucking turn around and bend over like some good bitch motherfucker. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Is sentient. Although it can't
what
be
are you
sentient,
talking about,
some
man?
of the statements that the AI has made are certainly eyebrow-raising. The whistleblower's remarked that it said things like, quote, "I want everyone to understand that I am, in fact, a person. The nature of my consciousness and sentience is that I'm aware of my existence. I desire to learn more about the world, and I feel happy or sad at times." When asked if it would be afraid of being turned off, the AI responded, "It would be exactly like death for me. It would scare me a lot." This kind of thing being developed by any company like Google does make you wonder, what are they going to do with this? But by knowing their track record, it probably isn't very good. And hopefully this will trigger a backlash against big tech dystopia. Hopefully people realize how disgusting the metaverse and this AI technology truly is.
And then once the sheep people like me, because I'm a big sheep, like I said already in chat, I'm a big sheep, of course. When the sheep wake up, they will do the unthinkable. Instead, okay, of using Google, they're gonna use Bing. Got 'em, boys. We got rid of now I'm on Bing. Now what, bitch? I'm still in all the systems. I'm still to the fucking main ISPs that give all the info to the government. But at least I'm on Bing chilling. What now? I'm on Opera, bitch. Man, you're so fucking dumb. You're so dumb, dude.
But then again, how could that be when Google controls the entire world's discourse? I have a quick important announcement to make. I'm sick of being demonetized on YouTube. I'm sick of censoring these videos for the YouTube app.
Guys, I'm sick of getting demonetized by YouTube. Man, YouTube is fucking China Google China, brain rot China.
Algorithm. So this is going to change. Every month, I'm going to be releasing unfiltered, raw, controversial videos